I want to tell you something that I've never said out loud before, not to my wife, not to my own children, but I'm going to say it to you right now, because I have a feeling you already know what I'm about to describe. There was a Tuesday evening, about 4 years ago, when I sat in my living room chair, the same chair I'd sat in for 20 years, and I realized my phone hadn't rung in 11 days. 11 days. I counted them. I actually counted them, one by one, like a man rationing water in a drought. My grandson used to call me every single week. "Grandpa, guess what happened at school? Grandpa, can you come to my game?" And then, slowly, so slowly, I almost didn't notice it happening. The calls turned into texts, and the text turned into nothing at all. I remember, this is just how it goes. I told myself a lot of comfortable lies to avoid feeling the truth, which was this: I was losing him, and I didn't know how to stop it. If you're watching this right now, and something in your chest just tightened a little, I think you know exactly what I mean. Maybe it's not a grandson. Maybe it's a granddaughter who used to climb into your lap and now barely looks up from her phone when you visit. Maybe it's grandchildren who live 2 states away, and the only thing connecting you anymore is a birthday card once a year with your name signed by their mother's hand instead of theirs. That kind of quiet loss is different from any other pain I've known. Nobody sends flowers for it. Nobody brings you a casserole. You just sit with it, alone, in a house that used to be loud with little feet and now just echoes. But here's what I didn't understand back then, sitting in that chair, feeling sorry for myself. I didn't understand that the bond wasn't gone. It was just buried, and I was about to learn, the hard way, the real way, what it actually takes to dig it back out. I know you felt this too. That specific ache of watching your grandchildren grow up through a screen instead of through your own 2 eyes. I know what it's like to sit at a family dinner and realize the kids at the table are more present with their devices than they are with you, and you smile and nod because you don't want to be the grumpy old man who complains about phones, even though inside, something is breaking. I know what it's like to hear, "We're too busy this weekend," for the 4th time in a row, and to say, "No worries, sweetheart," another time out loud, while something inside you quietly wonders if there will be another time. There's a psychologist named Dr. Susan Newman who spent years studying grandparent relationships, and I remember reading something of hers that stopped me cold. She said that grandchildren don't naturally drift away because they stop loving us. They drift because nobody actively keeps the relationship alive during the years when life gets loud. Not because the love disappears. Because nobody tends the garden. That hit me hard, because I had been waiting. Waiting for my grandson to call me. Waiting for my daughter to bring the kids around. Waiting for someone else to keep the connection going, as if love was supposed to maintain itself, like it was some kind of appliance that just runs forever without anyone plugging it in. Maybe you've done the same thing. Maybe you've told yourself, if they wanted to talk to me, they would. Maybe you felt that flicker of hurt pride that keeps you from reaching out first, because some part of you thinks, I raised their parents, shouldn't they be the ones calling me? I felt that too. Believe me, I felt that too. And I want you to know, right now, before I go any further, that feeling is not weakness. It's not bitter. It's grief. It's the grief of loving someone across a growing distance and not knowing how to close it. And you are not alone in it. Not even close. Let me tell you about the day everything changed for me. It wasn't a dramatic day. There was no big speech, no tearful reunion in a movie-style rainstorm. It was small. It was quiet. And that's exactly why it worked. My granddaughter, Emma, was staying with us for a weekend while her parents were traveling. She was 13 at the time, deep in that stage where every sentence out of an adult's mouth seems to require a sigh in response. I had planned this whole day. I was going to take her to the Science Museum, thinking that would impress her. She barely said 10 words in the car. On the way home, we passed an old diner, the kind with a neon sign and cracked vinyl booths, and without really thinking about it, I pulled in. I told her, "This is the place your grandmother and I used to come when we were dating." Before you were born. Before your mom was born, even. And for the first time all day, Emma looked up from her phone. We sat in that booth, and I didn't try to teach her anything. I didn't ask about her grades or her friends or what college she was thinking about. I just told her the truth. I told her about how nervous I was the first time I asked her grandmother out. I told her about the year we almost lost the house, and how scared I was, and how we made it through anyway. I let her see me, not as Grandpa, the fixed, unchanging figure in her life, but as a person. A person who had once been young and uncertain, exactly like she was. And something shifted in her eyes. She asked me a question, then another one. Then she put her phone face down on the table. She did that on her own, nobody told her to, and she asked me, "Were you scared, Grandpa?" Like, really scared? I said yes. I told her the truth. And in that moment, I realized something I will never forget for the rest of my life. Children, no matter their age, don't want a perfect grandparent. They want a real one. They want to know they're not the only one who's ever felt lost, or scared, or unsure of who they're becoming. I didn't fix everything in that diner booth, but something opened up that had been closed for a long time. And I understood, finally, that I had been trying to earn her attention with activities, with gifts, with museum trips, when what she actually needed from me was my honesty. After that day at the diner, I made a decision. I decided I wasn't going to wait anymore. I wasn't going to sit in my chair counting silent days on the calendar and calling it fate. I was going to become the one who reached out first, every single time, without keeping score, without letting my pride stand in the way of my love. I started small. I began sending Emma one voice message a week, not a text, a voice message, just 30 seconds of me talking about something ordinary. The bird that kept building a nest on my porch. A memory that popped into my head. Nothing important. And you know what happened? She started sending them back. Little 30-second windows into her world. A song she liked. A joke from school. It wasn't a phone call. It wasn't a visit. But it was a thread, and I held on to that thread with everything I had. I also started asking my grandchildren questions instead of giving them advice. That was harder than it sounds, because at my age, you've got 70 years of hard-earned opinions just waiting to come out of your mouth. But I read something once from a family therapist who said that children open up to the adults who make them feel curious about, not corrected by. I took that to heart. Instead of saying, "You should," I started saying, "Tell me more about that." And the difference in how they responded to me was almost immediate. I started building small traditions, too, nothing extravagant. Sunday morning pancakes when they visited, where I let them crack the eggs even when they were too old to need help doing it, because I realized the tradition wasn't about the pancakes. It was about the 10 minutes of standing shoulder to shoulder in a kitchen, talking about nothing and everything. I stopped waiting for the right moment to say "I love you," and I started saying it constantly, plainly, without ceremony, at the end of every phone call, every visit, every message. Because I learned something painful but true: none of us are promised the right moment. We only have the moments we actually take. And slowly, month by month, the distance closed. Not perfectly. Not completely. There are still weeks where the phone is quiet. But now, when it's quiet, I don't panic. I reach out. I send the voice message. I keep the thread alive. Because I finally understood, the bond between a grandparent and a grandchild isn't something you're owed. It's something you build, one small honest moment at a time, for as long as you're given the chance to build it. I want to say something to you now, directly, the way I wish someone had said it to me on that quiet Tuesday evening 4 years ago, sitting alone in my chair, staring at a phone that wouldn't ring. You are not too old to change this. You are not too late. Whatever distance has grown between you and your grandchildren, however many silent weeks, however many short visits, however many times you felt like a stranger in your own family's life, none of that is the end of your story. It's just the chapter you happen to be in right now. Somewhere, right now, there is a child, or a young man, or a young woman, who came from your blood, who carries a piece of you in them whether they show it or not, and they are waiting, whether they know it or not, for someone to be honest with them. Someone to be curious about them instead of correcting them. Someone who reaches out first, without keeping score, without waiting to be owed a phone call. That someone can be you. Starting today. Starting with one small message. One small memory shared honestly. One "I love you" said plainly, without ceremony, at the end of a phone call you almost didn't make. I think about that evening in my chair sometimes, and I feel a strange kind of gratitude for it now, because it was the moment that scared me enough to finally change. I don't wish that pain on you. But if you're feeling it right now, watching this, I want you to know it means something. It means you still have love left to give. And love that's still aching to be given is never, ever too late. So call them. Message them. Tell them the truth about who you were before you were Grandpa, and I promise you, you are not alone in this. Not even close.